Last video was about cons, conventions. So what you saw before the conversation with the mighty Megan Mackey was my booth. I sell, when I go to cons, I sell the Manhunter series. I sell Legends of the Exiles. And I sell the Madness Wars. And the companion book of the Madness Wars. The problem with this is that more and more stuff is coming out. There's only so much that I can put on my booth. So at some point it becomes older stuff. And I'm not putting out the new stuff that I'm very excited about. We'll see. We'll see where that goes. Right now, I'm watching a movie called The Army of the Dead. I need something to get me through what we're about to do. I've been drinking. That'll fade as we continue to go through what we're going through. That'll all fade. But for now, that was my booth. I have a banner that stands that says the Manhunters. We're currently working on a banner for the Madness Wars. Cons are very important to me. As you might have known from the last video, cons are very important to me because I get to actually talk to a person that talks to me about what I have to offer. Cons are very important. Okay, so we have been traveling through the aftermath of Guardians War. There are so many blogs, so many chapters that I have not shared with you. There's just not enough time. My seasons are 13 episodes long, and I just don't have the time to show you everything. I plan on having a blog blast. If you don't know what this means, it means that every so many hours, 2 hours and 15 minutes, 2 hours and 30 minutes, I will release a new blog. I plan on having a blog blast on what we have looked at in this season. However, there's so many blogs that I haven't been able to get to. So many things that happened during that time that I just don't have time to tell you about. Tonight, we're going to look at the most important, most pivotal moment of my life. This is an empty glass that had all my liquor in it. This is a glass that has coffee in it. It's made out of an ox horn. It was given to me by a character that you know as Belle. This is what I'm going to be drinking out of. My dogs are here to support me. My wife went to bed, and when she did, I kissed her, and I told her that I love her and that I always would, because soulmates are a thing. I hope you can see that from what we've looked at in the past, however many episodes, 11 episodes that we've done. I hope you can understand that soulmates are a thing. I have mine. I'm never letting her go. You have all the information that you need. If you watch this season, you have all the information that you need to walk into the episode that I'm about to give. I'm going to take a pause. I'm going to find what I need to read, and then we're going to travel into tonight. It's almost 5. I'm going to be reading to you all night long. And I am going to be between readings. I'm going to be watching the movie Army of Dead. Zack Snyder, Batista. I'm going to need something to break all this up. So I'm going to take that movie. Tonight, you and I are going to travel to the last moments of the aftermath of Guardians War. And I'm going to take breaks to watch the Army of Dead. I guess hope and despair are always going to be at odds with me. All of my work is about hope and despair. My entire life has been about hope and despair. Tonight is no different. Here we go. We go into a night where I use the despair of Army of the Dead on Netflix to break up what we're about to see. Stay with me. It's a little bit further. The aftermath of Guardians War stretches on a little bit more. Just stay with me. This is a chapter called Summit, and it happened in 2004. Do you love him? I ask. And she looks at the bed under me for a moment, and she shakes her head. No, I don't love him. I just like him, and I can't do this anymore, Becca says. She's talking. She's saying something, and I need to be focused on her. But every inch of me is on fire and chilling to ice. My body is hollow. All the supports have been pulled out. And how am I not caving in right now? How am I not collapsing like paper mache? The songs always talk about a heartache. And I've never, not until this one moment, felt that happen. My heart actually hurts. It's being crushed, and all I can do is stare at my soulmate and watch her talk about a different man. No, just No, I'm so close. I was coming. I'm coming. You just have to. No, you can't leave now. We're so close. Please, just no, okay? Not now. Please, I just need a little more time, I say. And I don't know who I am now. Is this Shadow? Guardian? Is this Teth howling in my head, or Shush finally making one loud, mournful plea because it couldn't be anyone? It could be anyone. And I'm realizing it now. But for the past 3 years, we've all fallen in love again with this one girl. I didn't know that a moment ago, but I do now. And I'm learning so much about myself and my needs. In this moment, don't go, I say. No, I'm ready. I'll fight for you. If I fight for you, he won't have a chance. I want him to have a chance, Becca says. She says it softly, shy, in a way I don't believe. Not even for a moment do I believe it. But she has said it. She wants him to have a chance. And we all stand around looking at her as she looks at us with a sad smile for a different guy. I gotta get up, I said. I'm still in my bed, in my boxers. She stands up and turns around, and she can't see me in my underwear. And I know in that moment I've lost her. In that moment, when she averts her eyes, I know they belong to another man now. Those eyes I so cherished are gone from me now. Eyes I was sure would be looking at me for the rest of my life, turned away so as not to see me in my underwear. We dress and we pull back. Guardian steps forward, looks at her with her back turned, and he sees his girl, the one he loves more than anything, the one he sat in front of a door for, the one he spent the weekend with after facing Char. The only real love he has ever had, and he has her back, and she has her back to him. But this is a man that knows pain. He's lost war. He's lost family, friends. He knows how to lose everything. So why not do it again? But he knows love too. She taught him that. When there was no one else to teach him, she did. Unasking, unflinching, unconditional love. The kind that thinks of its loved one first. So he sets it all aside. In that one moment, while he's pulling on his pants, he sets it all aside. Shadow is fighting to come forward so he can drop on his knees. Too proud to ever beg for anything. And he wants to crawl to her house and lay his body on her phone so she can't call this other guy. But Guardian knows how to lose. And he knows how to love. And if she will not let him fight for her, then he will not make her hurt. He will not make her choose. He knows she loves him. And he has ripped her open with years of loneliness. So here it is. Can he hurt her more by fighting a fight she doesn't want? Guardian has never done anything this terrible. Never done anything so horrible in his life. But in this moment, he decides he is not going to make her leave painful for her. He's going to help her leave him. He's going to make it easy on her. Tell me about her, Guardian said. Tell me about him, Guardian said. She sits down and looks at her lap. He's a personal trainer. And suddenly Guardian is aware of every pound he has gained since his thyroid died. He's a rock climber. What's his name? Summit. He has everything she deserves now. Then she will have it. A toned, tight body to hold to hers. A man who can take her to places she's never seen before and hold her as they look out over vistas Guardian can never get to. He is sick to his stomach and will vomit soon. But now he asks, what else does he like? Chess, she said. He likes chess. And Guardian wants to remind her of the time they sat in a coffee house when he was just out of high school, before they were dating, before the complications and the mess, when they would play chess, both of them pretending they were good at it, when other people were around, when the two of them were alone, they would admit they knew nothing about chess. He wants to say to her, he is a chess guy. We are not. That is not our game. We play Dungeons and Dragons. We create stories. And we fight monsters, and we laugh, and we joke, and we face unbeatable odds. And we win. But now she's a chess girl. And Guardian knows that will not make her happy. He knows she will hate to play chess with this guy, but he loves her too much to tell her. They rent a chess movie and they watch it. The Guardian will duck into the bathroom twice to throw up. His hands are shaky and he's crying, but he can't help her. If he can't fight for her, the least he can do is to let her go gently. That night when Siren comes over, Shadow looks at her and he knows she has to go. He will never have Becca, but now he can see this is not even a runner-up. This girl is hateful. She doesn't glow. She doesn't make him feel soft and powerful at the same time. Even though he can never have Becca, his girl is gone. His nap partner all woken up. Now, even though he can't have her, he will not keep Siren. That'll never happen. He has to get smart now. He has to get it together. A day later, Becca and Guardian are in a car driving to her new house. They are best friends and will always be. But as he looks at her, he knows he was too late. The healing was too hard, and he thought he needed Siren, thought he needed all her friends and the drinking parties and the constant supervision, but he did not. All he needed was Becca. They're driving, and a love song comes on. Guardian says, is there a song between you two? And he doesn't want to hear the answer. He's about to be sick all over himself. But she does answer, and he will be stained with that information forever. When he asks her to play it, Shadow grabs him, and Eleanor steps forward and stares at the window. You can't let this happen, Shadow said. They're in a wasteland now. And everyone is watching the two nemesis fight. But they have a dog in this fight. They have skin in the game. For the first time ever, Shadow has them all on his side. This time the street rat is right. This time Billy's boy has the answer. Don't make this any harder on her than it has to be, Guardian said. Do you hear yourself? Have you ever even heard of this kind of love? Oh, it's so strong and so wild that it would be gentle and help her leave it? We love her so much that we're sitting here listening to their song while the world burns around you and we all pray for death, but you want her to be happy, so you are invoking his love in her
to make her feel happy while your world dies? Have you ever heard of a love like that? Shadow says, has that ever been written about in any fucking books or songs or movies? Shadow stares down at Guardian because somehow Guardian is on his knees again. He has seemed to live there for so long. This is real love, not infatuation, not she's got a great ass. This is love that no one writes about because no one has ever felt it. And now I am watching you. Push it away, Shadow said. Take this fucking guy. He looks at Smear. Take Guardian from here and throw his ass in a hole. Smear, do not let him out. I can't let this go by. I have to fight. I have to rage. I gotta go home, Becca. I know we said movie, but I don't feel well. Listen, I need 2 weeks. I need 2 weeks to myself. I need you to not call or come over for 2 weeks. I'm saying the same thing for Siren. No one comes over for 2 weeks. Okay, whatever you need. She gets out of the car to hug me when she leaves, and when Siren comes to our house after work, I tell her to. No contact, 2 weeks. I've got 2 weeks to get ready. Shadow has a plan. He makes a list of things he needs to be able to offer her, and he gets to it. He has to regulate his sleep schedule. Be up during the day, sleep at night. Keep her hours, be with her. He has to have something to offer her instead of just eating all her food and sitting on the couch. He has to be able to show her that she is important. Shadow calls Red and tells him what is happening. Siren goes, Becca stays. What if you tell Siren to go and Becca doesn't want you? He said. Well, then I'm still better off. Red takes Shadow to buy boxes, and Shadow packs up everything Siren has ever brought to our house and left. He packs it all in a box and he sets it on the counter. 2 big boxes taking up every inch of counter space. The perfect image of change for him to fixate on for 2 weeks. He makes appointments for therapy every single day he is without her. He is taken for 2 days. Then on the 3rd, no one can drive him. He gets up and he walks. He walks across the entire city. He walks back. When he gets home, he is exhausted. He is sore. He has blisters on his feet. His legs ache. His entire body is in pain. He limps to bed and he crawls in. He will not sleep for a long time. He's in bed at 11 these days and up at 9. He lays in bed for at least 4 hours before he falls asleep, but he is reorganizing his sleeping. So when she calls at 11 at night, he's in bed aching and fighting for sleep. Shadow answers the phone and it's Becca. She is sobbing. I was wrong. I do want you to fight for me. I do. I want you to fight for me, please. Please. What do you think I'm doing? I am fighting for you. I am fighting for us. Give me another week and a half, then I'll call you. Okay, she sobs. I love you, Shadow whispers. It heals him just to say it out loud. I love you too, she whines. Then she hangs up. Siren rages when we tell her that Becca is our soulmate.
Shadow did not want her in a restaurant or in his apartment when he told her. He did not want her driving, so he is driving her back to his place when he tells her. She screams, she rages, she's furious, she curses our name. She has horrible things to say about Becca and I. And Cyrus says that I'm cruel, that I'm only going to break Becca's heart again. This is what I do. I am a monster torturing one woman, throwing her away and bringing her back. Shadow doesn't say a word because what can he say? We're going to get it right this time. We came too close to losing it all. We're going to fight for it this time. Fuck Hymnal, Bliss, Vigil, Plan, or anyone else who tries to get in the way. If Becca and I have to walk out into the world alone and afraid, we will do it together. Shadow doesn't justify it or try to explain the love he feels for Becca. He doesn't explain it because he knows no one would understand it. They would have to sleep in public, wake up to wedgies, go on top secret turtle Sunday runs, and dance to Only the Good Die Young. They would have to stay up for nights crying. They would have to wait for years at a time. There's no use telling anyone about this love because no one has ever felt this before. No one has ever fought this hard for it before. No one in the world has ever deserved it more than these two right here. There's no explaining this to people. They have stopped. Becca doesn't try to tell anyone why or how she loves Jesse, and he just laughs when he's asked. They have seen too much or to even try to describe it. It would take over 1,000 pages to let someone get a glimpse at it. When Simon gets to our house and finds her boxes already packed, she freaks out. She calls Lean. He comes to pick her up. When she's gone, Jesse picks up the phone. At this point in his body, every altar has the same vision. Every altar sees Becca and them together forever. The ripped and torn mind that has become one thick patchwork of a mind, and they all hum when they speak in unison. She is gone forever. If you want me for the rest of your life, I am yours, they say. I'm on my way. I got to that one point in the movie where he's put together his team and he's trying to find a way to get from the outside to the inside of the zone that's that's controlled by zombies. These women walk up on this female and she's sleeping and she's curled up around a machine gun. They wake her up and she, of course, turns, wakes towards them. I felt like it was the right time that the stuff that I was going to read next fit that particular motif. So here I am. I'm going to read the next chapter to you. I don't need to explain the chapter before. I don't need to tell you anything about it because it's completely self-explanatory, as is this one. Morning, 2004. Becca pulled up to my apartment. I was waiting outside on a February night for her. I climbed into her car and closed the door. You are my life, I said. I want nothing but you for the rest of my life. Becca stepped on the gas and eased around the parking lot. I told Siren that we were done. I told her I never wanted to see her again. I said I was going to be with you if you would have me. I could hear my blood gushing in my ears. I could feel my entire body heating up and trembling. She stopped at the entry of the parking lot, put the car in park. She looked at her lab inside. Then she turned to me, and I grabbed her by the sides of the head and I kissed her. It was our first kiss. I had kissed her many times, so many times before. I had kissed this one woman more times than anyone else, but this one kiss seemed different. It seemed cleaner, seemed fuller and richer than any other kiss I had ever had. We knew things about ourselves now. We understood things that we had not before. The last 3 years, I had been doing therapy to straighten myself out. Becca had been at work too. She'd been to yoga. She'd gone on a journey of self-discovery and physically and spiritually. She'd gone to an ashram and studied yoga there. Had become a yoga instructor and had found a path. She'd strengthened herself in ways she had never been before, and had found things in herself that she had no idea existed. We had both become two vastly different people than we had been the last time we had been together. Both stronger, both self-assured. When I kissed her that night, I felt as if she was breathing life into me and taking it out of me at the same time, as if we were feeding each other spiritually and physically, nourishing one another with our affections. I had never felt anything so powerful and had never felt anything stronger. I'd never been so strongly under the mercy of another person. We kissed, and when I pulled back, we were both crying. See, we knew it was over. There was no doubt in our minds that we were going to both fight for this as much as we could. This was our life now. We were this before anything else. We were a couple first. Everything else came after. We got to our house. I remember darkness. I'm sure we turned on the lights to get to bed. She probably brushed her teeth. I hadn't brought up a toothbrush, but I don't remember any of that. All I remember is climbing into our bed, pulling the blankets up around us, and entwining ourselves in each other. That first night, we didn't make love. We kissed quite a bit, but mostly what we did was talk. I told her what my last 2 weeks had looked like. I was writing now, had a 2-hour writing shift that I was doing at the beginning of each day. I was working on my life story, telling my memoirs, a way of studying what had happened to me and how it had changed me. I told her I was 36 pages in. It was all handwritten. I had not typed a bit of it. I did not know how to type, so I would have to get over that obstacle, but when I could, but for now, it was just handwritten. I had turned around my sleep schedule. I knew that she would want me to sleep when she was sleeping and be awake while she was. So I changed my sleep schedule around. I told her I was eating breakfast now. I don't know why that worked its way into the story, but it did. It felt important. She had not eaten breakfast ever. When I was a kid, I did, but after my mom stopped getting up with us some morning, I stopped eating breakfast. I'd begun to eat this meal as a way of regulating my life, as a way of bracing a more normal life. I told her I was going to one day be a writer of all sorts of things, but for now, my focus was on my autobiography. She listened to it all, and every few minutes, as I talked about it, I changed things about myself. She would kiss my face and stroke my chest. She spoke. She spoke about how Summit was not a good fit for her. He did not want to get married, did not think that one person could love another all of their life, and that marriage was not a thing he believed in. She said she knew when he said that they had two different versions of what love was. That was when she called me. That is when she wanted me to fight for her.
I told her as I felt as if I'd been fighting for her one way or another all my life, trying to find her, then trying to keep her, then trying to find a way to be with her. I told her I needed all of the past to be gone. I wanted to start it all over again. And I kissed her face and I ran my fingers through her hair. We talked all night. We made plans and we braced ourselves for the attack. The next day, our struggle would begin, but we promised ourselves that no matter what happened, we would face it as one. Then we kissed each other's faces and stroked one another. It was not sexual. This is not a sexual moment. This was an affirmation that the other was there. It seemed too impossible, too outrageous to be real. All of it was beyond us. All the sapphire, all the siren, all the ugly, all the vile, all of the confusion and the pain. It seemed as if there was nothing but hope in our future. And the only way we could reassure ourselves that we are not dreaming was to touch one another and hold each other. Around 6 in the morning, the phone rang. When Becca answered it, on the other end of the line was Siren. Siren had called to talk Becca out of taking me back. I hope you can see the lunacy of that. Siren said the two of them were friends. How could Becca do this to her? She said, I was sick and I was just going to hurt her again. She said she had talked to Fish and that she had said there was another guy, said this was only my way of keeping her from leaving and finding real love in the arms of Summit. She said it was all a scam, that I was a monster, that the two of us were just leaving broken hearts strung along behind us. But the long game, her entire argument came down to give him back. He is mine. I fought for him. I want him. Becca deflected everything that was hurled at her. With ease, Becca guided herself around every barb and every attack. Her thinking on it has been told to me many times. She had won. It was over. The battle of her life was fought. It had taken us 7 years to get from our first day together to this one, and it had been the battle of our lives. So many obstacles and enemies had come between us. So many terrible things and terrible truths had been brought before us, and we had handled every one of them. Today was the first day of our victory. She was not going to let that be ruined by a screaming match with Siren. And Becca was not interested in gloating. The call was long, I think. I'm not sure. Every part of that night and day are blurred together. Either way, Becca hung up the phone and called Summit. He was so happy for us, so excited that we made it work. He wanted to meet me, he wanted to talk to me, and she handed me the phone, and I talked to what would become one of my best friends. He was warm and kind and had an immense capacity for love. He poured love through the phone. I knew I'd never met anyone quite like him. We had breakfast. Then she called her parents. They were furious. Bliss was visiting, her sister Bliss, and they had 3 phones in their house. So all 3 of them got on the phone and they all hit her at once. Himmel said at one point, I wish someone would just come and sweep you off your feet. But the last time someone had done that, it had been me, and they had attacked it. Becca's response was, someone has, and his name is Jesse Teller. You need to accept that and move on. Let's start to talk about Summit, saying I was seeing her leave to find happiness, and then I was just ripping her away from Summit to keep her from being happy and healthy. That this was proof that I was a bad person right here, because when I saw her about to be happy, I had stepped in and ruined it. Becca deflected the hit. She said I was always the one and that Summit was not a real option
because he had different goals. Then Hymnal insisted on talking to me. This part still pisses me off. It's been 16 years. 16 years ago, this was said to me, but it still hangs between me and Hymnal. This tiny bit of insult that I can't get past. I took the phone and she snapped. Why should we give you another chance? Why should we let you back in here after you've hurt us so many times? They had broken us up the first time. They had inserted themselves in our relationship and shattered what we had. And they had blamed it on me because I called off the wedding. The second time they had gotten together when we lived on Normal Street, they had bad-mouthed me behind my back and tried to break us up. When the entire thing fell apart after Grasp and Guardians War, I was fighting with my entire family. They blamed me for breaking things off. Both times Becca and I had broken up, it had not been my fault. But here I was on the phone, begging to be let back in for crimes I had never committed. I soaked the comment. I knew there was no fighting. I knew my anger could not win them over, and I thought about Becca first. If I yelled and screamed right then, if I cursed her parents and slammed the phone down, Becca would have backed my play. I knew she would have. She would have cut her family out until they backed off and apologized. I knew my reaction to this hit would dictate Becca's relationship with her family. And I was not going to destroy that. How do we know this is not just another manic episode? And when you're depressed again, you're just going to drop Becca and run off. This is different. I said, different how? Listen, I said, there's nothing I could say right now that's going to persuade you one way or the other. Nothing I can say will ease your fears or quiet the voice in your head. So I will not try. I will only say this. Watch very carefully. Watch everything I'm about to do. Watch the miracle I'm going to work in your daughter's life. Let my actions convince you, because nothing else will. Are you going to buy her a ring? Bliss said. Here came a bunching of anger as well, but I beat it down and I smiled. I will be having one designed and made for her. She is a unique woman. She will have a one-of-a-kind ring. They said a few more things, all of them insulting on some level, but I soaked them all. I would not let them get me angry, would not let them bring me up yelling or cursing. I walked away from the phone and handed it to Becca. This would not be the end of it. They would come at us a few more times, but we were a rock now. There was nothing more important to me than holding on to Becca. Nothing more important to her than the power of our relationship. No matter what we had to do, we would do it. This is our life now. No one would be allowed between us. What a hunk of junk. I'm still working on Army of the Dead, watching that movie as I move through as I move through this episode. Tig, who is a brilliant comedian, plays a helicopter pilot. She gets to the roof of a helicopter where the helicopter is sitting, and she looks at it. It's terribly damaged, and she's got to make it work because it's the only way out. What a hunk of junk, she says. Seems like as good a time as any to read you about my Thursday night. Thursday nights, 2004. The weight is coming off, Siren snapped. She seemed to be panting when she said, I know what you did there to me there. You're so manipulative and evil. What did I do with the weight? I asked. It's Thursday night and she's calling me again. In order to keep my government housing, I have to sleep in soft towers at least once a week. So Becca and I choose Thursday night. The first of these, the phone rang and I picked it up. It was Siren screaming at me, and now this is my Thursday night. You kept me fat. I kept you fat? Yeah, I was thin when I first met you. And you got me fat so that you can control me. When I was fat, no one would want me. And you could treat me any way you wanted to, she said. I told you what I tell every woman that I am with. What they look like doesn't matter to me. Be comfortable with yourself and I'll be happy. I told you if you wanted to work out to do so, but I don't require it. You use me being fat to your advantage. Red doesn't do that. He doesn't want to manipulate me. He treats me like a queen. Her and Red started dating almost instantly. She defends him all the time. And though I have never attacked him, she spends a lot of time telling me how much better he is than me. She spends a lot of time talking about Red. She talks about how happy she is with him, and yet she is here every Thursday calling me to yell at me. Red is amazing, I said. He's one of my best friends. I know he treats his women very well. You're lucky to be with him. He's not your friend anymore. He doesn't want to see you ever again, she said. Red is done with your lies and your constant crying. He's done with your drama and your selfishness. Constant crying? Yes, it was constant. It never ended. You're right. I used to cry all the time. It was hard not to. I held no hope for my future. Are you telling me you don't cry now? She scoffed. No, I am not. What I'm telling you is that I have hope now. And when I cry, I'm taken care of. When I told my father that you and I had broken up, he sat down beside me and wrapped his arms around me. And he very sweetly said, I never liked him. Yeah, I know he didn't. I didn't give him much reason to. All he saw was his daughter chasing this guy, and he didn't like to watch it. No, your dad is a good man. I'm glad he doesn't have to watch that anymore, I said. Every Thursday, I let her vent. I took her venom, and I let her tear into me because I was living in happiness. I was loved. I was taken care of. And I was going to make it work with Becca. I didn't hate Siren at the time. I had not gotten the distance that I have now. I had not really looked at the situation like I have now. I wanted her to get closure so she could move on. You two are doomed anyway, Siren said. You and Becca can never work. Not after Sapphire and me and all the lies and the times you broke our heart. No, you two have no hope of happiness together. When you two break up, I want you to know that. Let me stop you there, I said. Becca and me are strong. Becca and me are strong and will remain so. We are going to couples therapy and working out all our issues. We're learning how to talk to each other and how to love each other in a pure and healthy way. You'll never be pure and healthy, Jesse. You're a monster. She slammed the phone down that night. Are you going to marry her? Or are you just going to string her along until something new comes along? Siren snapped a week later. I have a ring being made. Made? Yes, I designed a ring for her. I knew I couldn't find exactly what I wanted, and I knew that I didn't want anyone else to have the same ring as her, so I'm designing one to be everything she deserves. It'll be ready to pick up in 2 weeks. She slammed the phone down. The last night she called, I told her that me and Becca were moving in together and that this was the last time she would ever talk to each other. I told her that I wanted her to say everything she needed to say tonight because we are not in each other's lives after this night. She said she wanted to give me something and could I meet her at George's Cafe? I told her absolutely not. She could mail it to me if she wanted to, but I was not meeting her anywhere. I did not want to see her, and it would not happen. Not ever. She yelled about that for a while before she stopped and said one more thing. It would be the last thing I would hear from her mouth. You and I had an unhealthy relationship. It was abusive and terrible, and the fact that you used me and threw me away is unforgivable. Use you? You had me buy you dinners and books, and then all you did was throw me away. You used me, and our relationship was abusive. You have to live with that. Our relationship is terrible, but I told you to leave many times, and you could have left at any time on your own. But you stayed. So it's not my fault you got hurt. She slammed the phone down, and I never spoke to her again. She's written me a few times. Once she wrote me telling me I was a monster. She insisted that my alters were faked and that I was never been abused. She said that I made it all up so that I could manipulate people into buying me fast food and movie tickets. She called me the worst kind of person, but I don't think she elaborated. I didn't write back. She wrote me again a few years later to call me a few more names and tell me she had found a great guy. She told me that Lean and Fish were so happy that I was not in their lives anymore, and that all three of them were so much better without me. When Teardrop Road started to come out on my blog, she got a hold of me again. And I either had her blocked on Facebook and she reached me through my writer page, or I had not blocked her yet and she got a hold of me. She didn't sound as mad. She said she was reading a blog, and it was weird hearing herself as the villain of someone else's story. She said that it reminded her of a time when she didn't know how to love. She said, every story needs a villain, I guess I'll be yours. I never wrote back to any of these messages, and I never will. I said my goodbyes to her, and I told her to say hers. I gave her every opportunity for closure, and I hope she got it. As for me, I have no desire for anything from her. So there's this point in the movie. We're still watching Army of the Dead. Sadie, leave it. There's this point in the movie where, so basically what this movie is about is Las Vegas has been overrun with zombies. So they build a wall around Las Vegas with shipping containers. A casino has, of course, insurance on the money in the vault. And then insurance has paid out. But the casino hires a group of badasses to go in, get the money out so that they can have the insurance payout and the money itself. They promise the crew like $50 million, and the guy that they get to lead it divides that up. And some people get more, some people get less. But one of the people that he has to hire is a guy to break into the safe. Now, this vault is top of the line, impossible to break into. There are 4 locks. And he has to work them all at different various times in a specific order in order to open this thing. He's weird, quirky, different, completely unique to everybody else. So there's the moment when he's opened the 4 locks and he steps back. And he's got it. He's done the impossible. He's figured out how to open this. Nobody has ever broken this safe. Then he steps back and he turns to this badass that's been running with him this whole time, keeping him safe, keeping him alive so that he could do this job. And he says, will you do me the honors? And the guy walks over, spins the wheel, and the safe opens. He's done it. He's done the impossible. I stopped the movie right there. And I came so that I could read this chapter to you. Because Shadow did the impossible. He worked the impossible safe. He broke away from Siren. He kept the relationship with Becca. He cleaned us all up and got us all ready for her. Shadow worked the locks. And he broke open a vault that had never been broken open by any living person. And then he stepped back and he turned to the badass that had been walking beside him this whole time. And he said, will you do me the honor? That right there is the story of Shadow and Guardian. There's a lot of stories that can be told about Shadow and Guardian. But I think that moment right there is what we need to pay attention to. That moment right there. When Shadow does the impossible and he makes this relationship happen, he steps back and he lets them all open the vault while he watches. This is the last chapter of Normal Street that I'm going to read to you this season. This is the season finale. I want you to watch Shadow. I want you to watch all of them. It's called Please, and it happened in 2004. My birthday was one day off of grasps. Every time I had a birthday or celebrated at all, I thought of him all day. So to break this problem wide open, I decided to celebrate my half birthday. My birthday would come and go unmentioned, but when the half birthday came, we would all go out. The celebration would be huge. So it was September 2004. Becca and I have been going strong since February, and I have the ring. Let's stop for a moment and really think about this ring. First of all, no store-bought ring would be good enough for her. Our relationship and our past demanded something different. No one ever fought this hard for any love story that we had ever heard of. I figured out what I wanted and I went searching for a craftsman. Me and Belle went to about 4 spots and talked to 4 different people, looking at examples of their work, and I made my decision. I told them I wanted white gold. I wanted 2 angel wings, each wrapped around the diamond in the middle. Each would have the tip of its wing overlapping the other ring. When the 2 of them were set together on the finger, they would form one perfect piece. This guy had all sorts of questions. Evidently, I hadn't described it right. Dove wings, eagle wings, angel wings, raven wings. He wanted to know if this was a Harley Davidson kind of thing or what it was. My answer was angel. Months before I started to date her the first time, I had a vision of the Archangel Gabriel. One of the wings was him. Shortly after she started yoga, she had a vision of Archangel Michael. One of the wings was his. These 2 figures granted us strength and resolve when we were working on ourselves and when we were trying to get ready for our relationship together. We took the diamonds from the first ring I had gotten her and had used them. They were small. They were not what I wanted. However, I saw it as a positive. This ring would be a thing that we added to years to come. upsizing the ring as we went to make it more suitable for a growing lifestyle. The diamonds would be humble in the beginning, but the ring would not be. I poured money into its creation, and it was done. I had the perfect ring for my soulmate. On my half birthday, I called Job. Need a favor, man? What can I do? I'm proposing to Becca today. I need a few rides around town. He grumbled, but called on Chanel, and together they came to pick me up. We went to Walmart. I bought 2 candles. I bought a candle holder and matches. We went to the florist, and I bought a dozen roses. I went to Godiva and bought her some chocolates. They dropped me off 10 minutes before Becca was getting off work. She would immediately come to my house and pick me up for birthday dinner. I had 10 minutes to get ready. I was ready. I was ready in 2. And then I sat in a dark apartment lit only by 2 candles, and I rearranged the counter for 8 minutes while my heart pounded in my chest and I fought to control my breathing. Flowers to the left of the candle. She would walk up to the candle and see the flowers, pick them up and turn to me, and I would be on my knees. No, flower on the right. She would see the chocolates, then the candles and the flowers. Then at the end of the counter, I would be on my knees. No, candles in the back, chocolates, and flowers up front. I can tell you that I tried every possible combination of these things and shuffled them all over the counter before I heard her knock on the door. I walked to the door and pulled open the peephole. I stared out at her for a long time, seeing her beautiful face and her smile. I pressed my forehead against the door, my palm resting flat on the door, and I drew in a deep breath. I had no doubts. I knew without question I was doing the right thing. I unlocked the door and I opened it. I reached out and took her hand and pulled her in. I closed the door behind her and I pressed her against the wall. I kissed her. I remember that kiss as if it were the one I gave her before I put her to bed tonight. It was long, it was slow, it was passionate, and it was patient. It was a patient kiss. A kiss that has no plans, but to be there in that moment. When I pulled back, I pressed my forehead against hers, and I whispered to her, "Hello." "Hi," she said. "Happy birthday." "Yeah, thanks. I have something for you," I said. I still had not let her see the counter. She knew the room was dim. She knew we were in the dark. I took her hands and led her across my kitchen to the counter. Then I stepped aside. She looked down and giggled. "What's this?" she said. "It's your birthday. Why are you buying me gifts?" In the glow of the candlelight, her face was golden, her hair fire, her eyes glowing. She stared down at my offering, and I grabbed the ring box off the desk behind me. I took her hands and I dropped to both knees. It was always going to be both knees. When the first proposal was being planned, it was both knees on the bridge, hiding the ring that I had bought and begging her. When the second proposal in front of the elephant tree, it was going to be both knees. I was never going to have pride enough when asking her to be my wife to kneel on one knee. I felt the floor below me, hard linoleum on cement. I took both of her hands and I looked up at her. She stared down, smiling. I had words. I had prepared them. I had planned them. I summed them up, but they were gone. They didn't exist anymore. No words made sense. I could see myself on my knees, struggling to breathe and fighting to make sense of my words. So I called on Smear, Lord of Ire. I summoned him up. I felt him behind me, the black figure, the wings striped like the tiger and furry. But he was not hovering as he always was. He was not massive and beyond reckoning. He was the stature of a man, a simple man, not an immortal, not a god. He stood no taller than 6 feet. His wings did not buffet behind me, but drooped slightly, casting a shadow on me. He had his head lowered, and I waited for his beautiful words. But in the face of the moment, he was humble. He could not speak. He could only stare. I called on Guardian. From his knees, he ripped free his sword and drove the tip down into the floor. his forehead on the pommel, and he closed his eyes. He did not speak, but prayed. Beside him, servant, on his knees, sitting on his feet, his head bowed, as if waiting for a command. He seemed to be praying, seemed to be wrapped up in his mind. Since the Battle of Norma Street, he had given up on Rose. He had devoted himself to the girls first, and his cousins, then to Siren. But when the worst of her became clear, he had gone on a journey of discovery. He had sought the thing he could serve that would never let him down, never shame him or use him, and he had found us. Servant had found what we, everyone in a mind, needed. A servant devoted to our needs. Since that time, he had been pious and generous. He had been working on seeing to us, and he had begun to trying to find out what he believed in. Now he's on his knees before the one thing he knows he believes in. He's kneeling before Becca. He's kneeling in front of the love that they share, and he's praying to it. He has no words to say to her. He simply waits for instruction. Shade stands behind us, a hand on my shoulder, staring into her eyes, gripped by her beauty. Adam has poked his head around Smear's wing and is watching with wide eyes. All of them have come except Shadow, who sits on the couch smoking a cigarette and clapping. He does not want to get married, but he knows he wants Becca for the rest of his life. He knows no one else will do. He's done looking, but marriage does not suit him. It'll take him 6 years before he's worked through all of his issues and is ready to commit to Becca in marriage. They will have a simple ceremony one night after Rafe goes to bed. They'll speak words, they'll dance, they'll both cry. But for now, Shadow watches the living room as we struggle for any words to say, the things we are thinking. Finally, as one, we look up at her, and in unison, that only we can hear, we say, please. Our throat closes up, our mind shuts down. This is our entire life. This is the only thing that matters now. She giggled, just like a girl. And she smiled. Okay, she said. She had words she had decided on. She knew this day was coming. But when faced with saying them, all she could do was agree. Please. Okay. What can we say? We could say that for the last 10 weeks, we've been devoted to telling the story of what happened after Guardians War. But there's a lot of chapters that I wasn't able to read to you. A lot of things that happened that I wasn't able to fit into this season. I'm going to be throwing out another blog blast very soon, next couple of weeks, that will have all of these and all the ones between them, the things we didn't see, things that were happening that we didn't have to look at. I'm going to set all that out before you in a blog blast. This is what I have for you. This is the aftermath of Guardians War. This is what we all went through, what we all suffered. And the masterpiece of the lock that Shadow broke as he stepped back and let everybody else open it for him. You can say a lot of things about Shadow. He's been a monster for a long time. He's done a lot of things nobody can defend. But when everybody gave up, Shadow didn't. And the only way that I'm here. And the only reason that I'm in this room right now in front of this computer with that woman sleeping in that room, waiting for me to wake her up in an hour and 45 minutes and start our day together. Is because of Shadow. Now, I'll wake her up. She's got a meeting with some clients she's working with. We're going to laugh. We always do. I'm going to bring her coffee. She'll drink it in bed. She'll wake up and we'll go into the living room. I mean, we'll go into the kitchen. She'll give me my medicine with a glass of Metamucil. She'll pour me a cup of coffee. We'll talk. We'll laugh. We might eat. She's going to have her meeting. I'm going to come in here. I'm going to watch the comedy from a comedian named Nate Bargatze. He's brilliant. I'm going to watch his comedy for a while. And at some time during the day, we're going to edit this video. We're going to get it ready for you to watch. And when we do, I'll be sitting here looking at everything I've said tonight. And right here, I'll be holding hands with her, and the two of us will cry about the things that we went through, the things that we survived, and where we ended up. Tonight, we've gone from there's another man. Do you love him? No, I like him. And we've traveled all the way through that to please. Okay. Me and Becca are going to look at that today, this evening, sometime before I go to bed again. And we're going to watch that. And we're going to step out that door. I want you to imagine when we do, that when we open the door, the sun is on the other side. That rays of sunlight fill this room, that we blink from the brightness of it and walk out into it. And that beyond this door is our future. I want you to imagine two people, me and my wife, that has fought and struggled and gone through hell nobody could ever have prepared us for, so that we could make that walk out of this room into that sunlight and the life that waits for us. It doesn't matter. Nothing matters. We live in a big and beautiful house. We have a nice car, kids that are comfortable and happy. Got a bunch of dogs. None of it matters. If COVID destroys her business, then we go broke. That doesn't matter. Any heartache that comes to our family, none of it matters. In the end, all that matters is that when we are done editing this movie, we'll walk out of that door hand in hand into the sunlight. And we'll be hand in hand. And when I have my hands, my fingers wrapped around her hand, her fingers, and we walk out, the seal that forms at the closing of our hands will be so complete because our hands fit together so perfectly. The seal that forms will be so complete that you won't be able to tell the difference between her and me, or the one creature that we form when we walk out that door. So that's our episode for the week. That's our journey, as incomplete as it is, through the aftermath of Guardians of War. I want to say thank you for coming with me through this entire season. Do all the things that YouTube asks you to do that I refuse to say because I think they're tacky. Do all the things. And the base line will walk you out of the door of our office.